Just like that, we have microphones, people.
Yeah, I was actually about to tell Nat to speak up. Which is such a standard.
The
Ronnie,
loudest voice is...
I bellow.
The smartest.
Yeah, I know, I'm a foghorn. But also, Ron's chewing a bone, so...
You project.
Yeah, I have to. I've taught dance for over half my life. 5, 6, 7. Anyway, so we are back at the table. I've actually unfortunately finished my decaf coffee. It is the 31st of October. So spooky. Happy Halloween. But like we were just discussing, like we were saying before the microphones, we want to basically touch on a little bit more education side of things because, you know, we both are educators on the Team Muscle Chem forum. Although we don't really, I guess the word is promote. We don't promote our education too much along on Instagram. At the same time, we do have a lot of knowledge, so we want to be able to kind of put that out there. I think our clients know.
Yeah, just difficult to blur the lines between like what can you give out freely versus what are people paying you for.
Yeah, that's also a good point.
I reserve a lot of my knowledge for my client base because they're the ones that I want to invest my time in.
Yeah, exactly. But we're going to dive right into it. So we broke the questions into a few segments, didn't we? So training and performance, nutrition, like gut health, posing, and then even a few, as always, questions on like advanced versus natural side of things, right? So as well as the Q&A today, we are also going to be running through a bit of the, I guess, day in the life, like see what we get up to on like a normal training day. It is pretty much, we wake up and we're working from like 6:30. We train at around 10 every training day. We're finished by 12, back home for 12:30, start work again, and then that's usually through till around 7, and we watch some Netflix, wind down, bed around 8:30. I'd say like around, that is literally the same every day.
I've been asleep by like 9:30 the last 4 days.
When Nat and I met, he would go to sleep at like 2, 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And you'd sleep like, what, 3 hours?
And now I get like 9. And it's
if he's massive next season, it's all my doing. When?
Jesus.
When you're massive. What did we watch last night though? It was really good.
Roadhouse.
The Roadhouse. Oh my God, rate. So
basically, it's just because it's got topless Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor in it. I mean, that's why I like it.
No, you said it's a remake, didn't you?
Yeah, it's a remake of the old Roadhouse.
I've never seen that.
Classic film where they've all got like proper mullets and all that shit.
Yeah.
And everyone's wearing double denim. It's
but
brilliant.
I'm sorry, Conor McGregor fucking kills it. He actually smashed it. I loved it.
It's when he found steroids but was yet to jump to cocaine.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
No, that was just straight him being off his nut.
Yeah. Very, very enjoyable. So if you haven't seen it, definitely give it a watch. Anyway, let's dive into some questions.
So, the first one is one that we both quite like. It's what's the biggest mistake you see people make when they say they're training hard? I'll let you take it away because I've got a few angles for this.
Okay. So training hard, obviously you can straight leap into like training to failure. There's definitely a difference between, and this is something that I pulled up one of my clients on about 2 weeks ago, and she came back to me like 2 days later like, damn, you're right. I was like, the weight was moving like the exact same from her first rep and her last rep. And the only thing that changed was her face. And I was like, you're telling yourself that's hard, but what I'm seeing here is the weight is moving exactly the same. For me, the final rep, obviously there's different movements that you can take failure to different points, but say for a movement that you've got a little bit of risk there, so a failure point will be you want to be able to complete that rep. Like, for example, right now, however deep into prep, 35 weeks. That's why I'm also in a coat. Probably also repping the brand new Emerge Elite drop. Nat&Han. But anyway, so in a leg press,
Are you sure that was decaf?
you want to be able to complete that rep without failing, because you actually are very prone to injuries at a very low body weight or body fat percentage. So how I then determine what my failure point is how slow that rep is going. The form doesn't break down, but the rep itself, whether I'm able to complete that rep, and whether the first rep is kind of very nice and controlled, and then that last rep is like, I actually don't think I'm going to make this, but it's like pushing to it, right? So probably one of the biggest mistakes that I do see, circling back to the actual question, is that people tell themselves it's hard before it actually is. You'll see people even making faces on their first rep. I'm sorry, that it's not hard. Like, the pain isn't there yet. You haven't even put blood in the muscle yet. Like, do you know what I mean?
There's a big difference between cognitive failure and true muscular failure. It's a matter of, like, it's a skill, but it's a skill because you have to learn. It sounds really fucking cringe. You've got to learn to push through pain, because your musculature, as it gets harder, is grabbing more and more fibers to get involved and recruit. That doesn't happen when it gets hard. It happens when the bar doesn't move anymore.
Yeah.
And it's why if you always go back, everyone goes back to, if I had a gun to your head, could you do another rep?
Yes.
Because that is genuine muscular failure. A lot of people go to cognitive failure, or they're trying to play it for the camera and look like it's hard. That's not right. And I think another layer to that is that as you get more advanced with training, you become way more in tune with your body where failure is. This leads into the skill aspect of failure, because a lot of time you can see people training to failure when really the set finished at rep 7, but they've done 5 more reps where we'll take a dumbbell press, for example, where they've gone from using their pec to using everything but their pec to get their dumbbell up. You can watch me do a set on my incline presses, and a lot of time the bar moves at the same speed, rep 1 towards the last, maybe second to last rep, but I'm aware that when I finish that set, if I was to go down again, something else will get involved. And training hard is both a level of muscular failure, but intentional muscular failure, not just total systemic muscular failure.
Yeah.
That's how I can kind of round it up. So yeah, it's learning to kind of just push through pain a little bit, go to the physical failure point rather than the mental failure point, but also the intention of where the failure is meant to be. That is the biggest mistake I see.
Yeah, and I'd say like people are trying to find failure way too early in their like journey, in their like in just weightlifting journey. So like they are looking at all the information that is out there nowadays, and they're like, oh, I'm training in RIR or I'm training in failure. There is a certain amount of years, I believe, that you should be training before you're even worried about certain levels. Like, literally just move the weight. Just move the weight.
I've always said when I've had clients come to me with training, I'd rather have someone that was an unrefined stone that knows how to fucking send it until they're pissing blood than someone that doesn't know how to get there in the first place. Because you can teach someone that knows how to piss blood accurately. It's hard to take someone that doesn't know how to get to the pissing blood point to get there, because it hurts.
Yeah.
I think we covered that.
Okay, next question. Slide. How do you each define progressive overload, and how does that look different for a male versus female athlete?
I'll begin.
Okay, you go.
So, I'm going to start at the end and go to the beginning. How does that look different male to female athlete? It doesn't. I fucking hate this. There is no difference in bodybuilding training male to female in terms of just like training. Like, yes, you might have different specific body parts, or
I was just about to
split
say
setups or volume dependent on class, but that's the same as
or
if you took an
recovery.
open bodybuilder versus men's physique. But in terms of actually training and progressively overloading, it doesn't fucking change. Now, how do you define progressive overload? This takes many forms and also does lead back to the first question. Yes, it can be a kilo or a rep. They are very clear. I've written it down. I've improved.
Like the data
of progressive overload.
Quantitative data.
Yeah. The secondary is the more grey area, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, Doctor Who reference, muscular stuff where I've had. I'm going to use Cameron as a great example. He's someone that has worked on his lateral raises for a long time, and he will update me based on how it feels in terms of muscular activation. He may have regressed in a rep on paper, but if he feels it way more, then that in itself is a progression, because it's an execution progression, and the execution progression gives more runway for load and kilogram progression, and all of those three things combined lead to more muscles.
I have a great example, like for myself, like we said at the beginning, I've literally been training now for 15, 16 years, and I would actually say it's only been the last year that I've been able to train my hamstrings effectively.
Yes.
Yeah, and the way that I've actually done that is on paper regressing, like to begin with, actually fully taking the weight down by even say barbell hip thrusts. Obviously, yes, they're glute and hamstrings has been a massive thing for me this past year. And I was hip thrusting like 140 kilos, and I wasn't though.
You were
I was erecting it, like with my erectors, like using everything but. And I actually took those barbell hip thrusts all the way back to a 10 aside, like so it's 40 on the bar, and I did not add any weight until I could do like a set of 12 using that and actually just feel it where I want to feel it. Now, obviously, that is very different when it's such a specific targeting movement, right? But even if I look at or think about my SLDLs, so I don't lift anywhere near what a lot of people would be lifting at this amount of time, like that they have been lifting. But how I feel it is ridiculously different. And why I think that is so important, I'm not using any momentum in my training, and that has meant that this whole prep, I've lost 16 kilos?
More than that.
No. I've lost around 16 kilos, and I'm in week 35 of prep, as mentioned, and my training has not regressed, like even on paper. So because I gave myself such a good runway of actually training using the muscles that I needed to train, not using momentum, my body fat has gone down, and I've been able to maintain, if not still progress on certain things. A lot of people then may turn around and say, well, it means you're not dieting hard enough, it means you're not lean enough.
Tell that to the glute striations.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does make it harder to quantify progressive overload in that aspect. But I think you've got three routes. So like we said, it's kilograms, it's weight, it's feel.
And that's why I wanted to mention about the fact that I've been in a deficit, is because that to me is still progressive overload. If I've lost weight and I've maintained my lifts, that's still progressive overload in my opinion, because that means when I am going into the off season, my base numbers are set. I'm only going to progress from there, right? As I build body weight up, as your stability gets better. So yeah, there's quite a few, I'd say 4 angles.
Cool. So let's go into this one now. How do you mentally approach sessions when your motivation is low, but you still got to perform? I'll let you take it because I could be quite heartless here.
I guess I would be able to touch on it more so now because of being so like far into a deficit. I think how I will start is down to the fact that when I started bodybuilding, the reason I started bodybuilding is because I loved training. So yes, there's been sessions where we've been driving and I'll be like, gonna have to dig deep for this one.
When you found out it was lower instead of upper.
Oh, that was so heartbreaking.
You sat down on the floor in the car park. Insert photo here.
Yeah, that was heartbreaking. Yeah, there's going to be days where you're like, wow, I'm going to have to dig deep for this one. But it's something that I'll say to like anyone really, is like, remember it's so cliche, I know, like, remember why you started. But you're going in to do something that you actually do enjoy. So sometimes people need to maybe like take the pressure off. I know some people don't logbook through their preps and things like that because they need to just take the pressure off. Ron needs the wee. But for me, I continue logbooking because it just gives me a much better guide anyway. But how I approach those sessions is, I think, what's the saying that you use? Do what others can't.
Do what others can't to go where they won't. No, do what others won't to go where they can't.
Yeah. Having that.
I did it before JP put it on a t-shirt.
Yeah, trust. Yeah, that saying is something that's really good to have in your headspace when you're going into the gym as well. So you can almost take two approaches of, okay, I'm training because I love it, but also you are competing. You're doing this bodybuilding prep to compete. If you go into the gym and you don't do what you physically can and push yourself to that actual limit, you're going to step on stage. If you lose, there's potentially a reason why. It's because you've been a wet lettuce within your sessions, right? So if you step on stage and you lose and you have pushed yourself every single session, like every aspect of the prep, then you know that you can wholeheartedly say, nothing more that I could have done. So I think, yeah, there's almost two kind of approaches that you can take there. Mm.
I think my response is relatively simple, because that was brilliant. I don't really like the term motivation. I thought he'd come in when it started raining. So, motivation is a very fleeting feeling. It's most of the time brought on extrinsically through videos or music or people or cheering, and I don't think you can really drive yourself constantly on that. It really is just down to discipline, and it doesn't become a choice. So I've said this before to you, like when it comes to training or hitting numbers or like sticking to a plan or anything, it's just you don't give yourself the choice not to do it. And then you don't need motivation because it's going to happen regardless of how you feel.
Yeah.
And that's I think where I struggle with this, because like, yes, I love motivation, I like getting G'd up for sets, but like the option of no just isn't there.
Yeah.
And that's the same with you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you feel. I know even on the days when you're like, I'm going to have to dig for this, I'm still going into the session going, it doesn't matter because she doesn't know no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that kind of rounds that up nicely.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you want to do that one or do you want to move on?
Let's move on. New category.
You can definitely do...
How much does food quality versus total macros actually matter in a prep?
Anyone who IFYMs in prep usually isn't in shape. I don't know a single IFBB pro that's doing very well that IFYMs in prep.
Fair. I do know a few athletes that do work with it and they work really well, but at the same time, I could almost use that term very fleeting with them because they will still more than likely use the same food sources. They just might swap them around throughout the day. Does that make sense?
And they're all mostly clean, whole, digestible,
yes,
single food sources.
Yeah, there's a big difference between, so I don't even think you can bracket it as just versus like meal plan and macros, because with people that do macros, there's a good percentage of people that do it properly.
Gotcha.
There's a very easy way though to do macros horrendously and just ruin everything. So I think food quality really matters, especially when, easy example, we ran out of low salt.
Yeah.
And for like 2 days, I gained a pound, but visually, wow, it was different. And we were like racking our brains, like, I must just be like fatigued, man. Like this, and this. Realised I'd been using just like 2 grams of normal salt in every meal instead of 1 gram of normal salt, 1 gram of low salt. And visually, as soon as one day of using my normal 1 gram in every meal, I dropped a pound and I'm back to veins everywhere. So if you think about that, but on such a large scale of things.
So if I swapped all of my rice for super noodles.
Or even like salted rice cakes. Do you know what I mean? Like even just thinking about the salt content of the different foods that you might eat. Like that is the most easiest example that people wouldn't even think about. But if you think about food quality of like, super noodles compared to just like whole rice, like that's going to be a massive thing. But also, in my opinion, protein sources are like the biggest thing. And I can obviously speak from as a personal like opinion, but also most definitely factual from my own experiences of if I used 6 servings of protein powder throughout the day instead of having eggs, meat, etc., I would look like a bag of shit.
Well, we know that, so Hannah's rest day diet, for example, she's got egg whites in meal 1. She has chicken in a buckwheat in meal 4. And then she has chicken in buckwheat in meal 6. But there came a point where we were trying to find a whey alternative. Because before it was chicken, it was whey, and then we found out she can't digest whey. Long story short, we use chicken or we use egg white powder. There was a day or a few days when we used egg white powder in the midday buckwheat and the end of day buckwheat.
So that's like three
servings of egg white.
3 servings of egg whites.
And you were having digestive stress. Not digestive stress.
No, I was constipated. I was having actual, like, I could feel a shit just sitting.
And it affected your visuals.
Yeah. So even things like that, like...
So it can be done right, but at the end of the day, I think a consistent food quality meal plan will always outdo a macro plan.
Not looking at competitors, like even lifestyle, in my opinion.
Yeah.
When I speak to my mum about certain things, I'm like, what have you ate? And she might have snapped on my fitness pal all her macros throughout the day, but then I look and like, the macros don't look too bad. I look at the actual food and I'm like, bruh.
She got her protein from bagels.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Things like that.
Because I know that Sarah Bradley, who's a brilliant athlete, she macroed for a long time. She would just get macros from her coach, whether it's prep or off season, but she made very good food choices. But still, I know that she spoke about it in one of her YouTube videos. When she moved to her new coach, she went on a meal plan and she noticed a big difference. And that's from someone that knows how to macro correctly.
Yeah.
So there's still a difference. And that's a top athlete that macroed in the right way, because she's a top athlete, and then moved to a meal plan and still noticed another level up.
Yeah.
So,
and especially as you do
if it works for Sarah, that trumps it.
Yeah. If you do obviously get like deeper into a prep, you are also more sensitive. So again, if you like, I know some people that, their normal day to day, they might have rice and then they might be like, I'm going to have a bagel today, and they're like 4 weeks out because they macro so they can, and then they've fucked. And we all know the gut takes like 5 to 7 days to actually reset. That's a whole week of prep that you're potentially jeopardizing. So yeah. It massively matters.
Big. You know that one?
Oh yeah, you like that one.
I like that one because I think you've got a few ways to cover it that way.
Yeah,
as do I.
And also, like you said, hormones.
So, do men and women need to approach like post-show, like almost reverses differently? Initially, I'd like to speak on what you spoke to me a few weeks ago that I hadn't really thought about in a sense, in terms of, first of all, men and women, depending on what category you're competing in, would change how your reverse happens, just down to the condition required. Yeah. So if you take a PCA figure competitor,
like athletic figure.
I was going to go toned figure, and then compare that to someone that's doing NPC women's physique.
Right. So a toned figure athlete compared to women's physique, like conditioning.
Like very different in terms of condition.
We know that's like around 5-6 kilo body fat, like whatever your height. Like
the reverse process is very different because the incredibly peeled individual will need, for the sake of health and well-being and biofeedback, need to have a more, I wouldn't say dramatic because I don't like the term dramatic, they'll have to have more of an initial scale gain to rectify the biofeedback before beginning a reverse. Whereas if you've dieted a little bit, and this doesn't take it away from any athletes doing it, but if you're in a category
different level
when the criteria doesn't require that level of conditioning, a lot of the time, yes, you've been dieting hard, yes, you've been probably pushing yourself harder than you ever have done before, but because of the body fat's where it is, less biofeedback should really be compromised if done right. Therefore, your reverse is almost 8, 10, 12
more
weeks ahead of the other categories reverse. Therefore, it does need to be treated very, very differently.
Yeah.
Because if you take, say, a fit model athlete and they have a 4 kilo scale gain in the first 2 weeks, that's not good.
No.
It's not going to help the biofeedback. No. They're just going to feel uncomfortable. Whereas if you take a women's physique athlete and they gain 4 kilos in the first few weeks, you go, brilliant, you're sleeping again.
Yeah, pretty much. No, I entirely
agree. I hadn't really thought on that very much until you brought it up to me, because there was a power up done on how to approach reversing and just kind of educating different people on it, because it is very kind of unique, I guess, and it is probably the hardest part of prep.
Yeah.
Do men and women need to approach post-show very differently? Yes, massively. Because
well, again, there's the conditioning standpoint, but then there's also the hormonal side of things. So if you and I think we could speak about this for probably way too long. I'm
trying to pass it back.
Yeah, because we could also speak about natural and assisted post-show recovery here. Like, we could dive into so much, but we'll stick with the question: do men and women need to approach post-show differently? Yes, because at the end of the day, especially if you are an assisted male, your markers are probably pretty all right. Like, unless you're on this mad blast, then if anything, you're just going to be pulling back, really, right?
Within reason. I mean, to the extent of that, when a enhanced male athlete finishes prep, it's not like their testosterone's in the bin and their thyroid's not working because you've used things to keep it there.
Yeah.
But your health markers will probably still likely be shit because you've used orals and harsher drugs.
Yeah.
But you're almost fixing a different issue. You're not fixing the issue prep created, you're fixing the issue that the cycle
drugs created. Yeah.
Whereas, say, a natural male, they finish prep and they're basically a natural female and they need months to rectify it and get sleep and testosterone in order. Same thing happens for females, I guess.
Well, yeah, like females most definitely. Yeah, so I haven't had a cycle for, I think I said earlier, like 130 days or something like that. Yeah. So obviously, when a lot of people, and I know we joke around it, 180 days, right? So I know we joke about it, like, oh, thank God I don't have my period. But obviously that is a clear indication that your body is not in a happy state. Like, having a period is a very important aspect. If you even think about, osteoporosis, that side of things, but so much more. So for a female, when you do finish prep, like, you do want to gain a certain level of body fat pretty soon, just to ensure that your body is on the track to getting your hormonal health in a good spot. The thing that a lot of people do, and this will be the last thing, I promise, but the thing that a lot of people do post-show, which I really don't respect, they'll gain loads of weight because they've massively over-ate, and they'll be like, oh yeah, but I got my period back in 2 weeks. It's like, yes, but that's also not a healthy way. Like, you've gained your period back because you've now gained loads of body fat, but that doesn't mean that you're now healthy because you've got a period. So
water retention and blood pressure through the roof.
Your fucking heart can handle it. Also insulin, like everything, right? But there are multiple factors, basically. You're having your period back. It's not just like the one thing that you should obviously focus on, but doing it in a healthy manner post-show, you may gain more body fat at a slightly faster rate, especially if you've got more peeled, basically.
So, yeah. advice for post-show recovery: take it slower than you think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then the rate after you've done the slow bit depends on your class criteria and male versus female and how bad your health is. Now the fun ones of gut health for the gut health guru to my right that has been through it all. What are the first signs you look for when someone's gut health is wobbly?
You know what? I think a lot of people, they will initially go with the physical symptoms, won't they? Like the number one is going to be bloating, like bloating, constipation or diarrhea. But in my opinion, the first signs a lot of the time are actually going to be like how that person actually feels day to day. Because most of the people that I do speak to, they'll just feel so lethargic, like they'll be sleeping, or maybe they're not sleeping. So like if they're not managing to sleep, or if they're sleeping loads and they're still waking up so tired, there's definitely so many aspects that you can look at instead of just the physical side of things. But yeah, I would say that that's quite a short question. If I like keep it short, what are the first signs? I'd say how that person feels in the day-to-day, whether, you know, they're almost feeling a lot of the time with the gut-brain axis having such a high link, then a lot of the time people can feel extremely down and depressed just by their gut being so off. But then, of course, the physical signs with bloating, constipation, diarrhea, almost like period-like symptoms, I'd probably go with.
I think that's brilliant. I don't need to add to that. How much does stress actually impact digestion and body composition?
Massive, innit?
Hugely.
You've got a client that you can use as an example.
I have a client that's...
An incredible client.
She works extremely hard. She's a PT that's on her feet from dawn till dusk. ADHD, the lot. So immediately cortisol and everything's a little bit kind of haywire. She previously was under the guidance of someone that did not rectify almost lifestyle aspects of the plan in terms of time management, organisation, routine. And when we compared her bloods recently to previous, she was hugely out of whack, like cortisol was through the roof. There was one thing that she almost had. I'm not going to pull it up. But it was just like she had an extremely unresponsive body. She couldn't get in shape when she was dieting her ass off and eating dust. She couldn't grow muscle when she was eating food. And it's all because she was internally stressed to fuck. We recently ran her through a diet phase where, on top of all the hard work she's done through nutrition and training, she's also done a lot of work in terms of like time management, caffeine usage, management around medication timings and hydration, that when we had her bloods back, everything that was wrong previously has been reversed. And as much as I could be like, oh, I take credit for that because I'm the coach, no, it comes down to the person actually applying themselves in their day-to-day and creating an environment which breeds a calmer mindset even when it's busy. She can be busy and not be stressed if you manage it correctly.
Yes.
And she was able to reverse some borderline very serious health issues. And now I have a body that responds to anything I do to it like that. Whereas when she came to me, it was, right, we'll make this change. Headbutts wall. Right, we'll make this change. Headbutts wall. So, yeah. Stress and all that makes a massive difference. And I know for me, if I am excessively stressed, I retain water like a motherfucker. I had it even in my 2022 prep. So I was very much in the shapes. And I had some time off between shows to do a show. And I hated my job at the time. I ended up changing jobs mid-prep. And the stress of me knowing I had to return to work that following Monday meant that I woke up with edema in my ankles and shins. and an excessive body weight gain when I'd eaten nothing but like fish and lettuce. So.
Yeah, the reason why I just went on my phone, sorry, is I actually wrote out something to explain to one of my clients, because obviously a lot of my client base is around digestion, around gut health, and this lady came to me after going to the doctors, after being prescribed so many different forms of medication, and she was at a wit's end basically. It was either she got the help from me or she had to have surgery for her gut. So I was basically trying to, without sounding like I was breaking it down into layman's terms, because that's definitely not it, she's a very educated woman, I basically pieced all the pieces together to help with that. So I have got it all actually written down, and obviously I do know things off the top of my head, but at the same time having it in front of me is very helpful. So there's something that is a bit of a trigger word at the minute that I think too many people are throwing around, and it's all down to the vagus nerve, right? But if there's aggravation if there's aggravation within that vagus nerve, the brain gets to kind of know by the signals that's sending to the vagus nerve, right? So that's the fight or flight response. So that's where obviously adrenaline kicks in and how your body then responds to that. But that is a two-way kind of communication there, where the mental stress and the gut know what's happening by transporting those signals between one another. Oh, a break to plug in the laptop. But yeah, basically there's that two-way communication between your mental stress and the gut, and the gut signals from the environment within that gut to the brain, and it manifests as the anxiety side of things, right? So the nervous system signals, which are sent, there's bioactive compounds within that are released, and these are absorbed through the gut, and they travel around the body, and that actually regulates serotonin as well. So there's all these kind of steps in place. When people think about stress, they think about a stressful situation. And how many people do we hear be like, oh my God, I'm so stressed. They wear it as a badge of honor. A lot of the time, the situation that they are faced with isn't a stressful situation. It's how they're responding to it. And we've spoken about this through a length of time, because we could look at our day-to-day and be like, whoa, what a stressful day. But because everything is planned out, like we spoke about at the beginning of this, about how set times for certain things, those set times allow us to be very low stress.
Yeah, we're chill.
Yeah, but we do a lot day-to-day. So because of that, because we don't respond to a potential stressful environment, our bodies don't perceive it as stress. So with serotonin levels, that is there to help with the control of your GABA and stay calm, for example. And basically, long story short, there's microbes in the gut which are actually in control of the imbalance of those neurochemicals. Are you with me?
I am, and it's brilliant.
Okay, good. So this does open up a whole new way of psychiatry, kind of looking at how the gut plays a role, and how your digestion may be great, but it actually could be the imbalance of the bacteria that is impacting your mental health. So yeah, you could do things like a stool test, for example, looking at the actual DNA within the bacteria of your stool, like what's growing, what things the bacteria in that stool are producing. So there's lots of things that you can do, but that barrier is quite similar to the blood-brain barrier as well. So, that's where depression could almost be formed as a term of low chronic inflammation.
So you're saying it's a lot more than people having PCOS, endometriosis, and being gluten intolerant?
Yes.
because that's what everyone seems to be getting labelled with these days. That was really cool. I was learning as we go as well.
Amazing. Good. I'm glad I can
Brilliant.
help. What was the next one? I felt like I went way too far, sorry.
No, it's cool because it basically covers a lot of these.
And in short as well, like once we'd kind of gone through, you know, it's really not a short-term fix.
No.
So when people think that they do maybe join a coach and they're helping to get their gut fixed, it is a long process because it's not necessarily going to be one thing. So yes, it could be stress, but like I've just kind of touched on there, it could be microbes, it could be your biodiversity within your like gut microbiome. It could be that you've...
That's something that I implemented, isn't it?
What?
Biodiversity.
Yeah, biodiversity, which is very low in bodybuilders because they eat the same foods day in, day out. You know, increasing your biodiversity for your microbiome is key. But anyway, with us then implementing all these things over a prolonged period of time, some people you'll see, I've shown you like clients like a week difference and you can even see it immediately.
Yeah.
But for others, it might take like 6 weeks. And it's simply because there's usually multiple layers to, or even if you think about one thing that's impacted another thing, so you almost have to fix your one layer and then attack the second layer. So yeah, there's a lot to break down basically, but how much that stress and your digestion can impact your body composition is mind-blowing.
That was brilliant. I'm going to tie two of them together because they kind of match up, but then I want you to answer that one in a minute.
Okay.
So there's one about like, is bloating a sign of poor digestion or is it part of the process? And then there's another one about how are you managing your digestion with food volume being high in the off season. I think they tie in well together because they can kind of be across the same lines. As someone who does have to push food, because I was eating in excess of 7,000 calories at peak off season, yes, obviously stomach volume was high because there's no way to make that much food very small, but I can comfortably say that at no point, unless I'd eaten something that just didn't agree with me, at no point was I actively bloated.
No.
And so like, if you are actively bloated, your body's not going to be utilising it or digesting it properly.
Yeah.
What is the aim of the game? We want to maximise the fuel we're providing our body with to be able to keep progressing. You can only utilise what your body can digest, and if you're bloated, then it's not digesting right, so you're probably just shitting it out.
It used to be like a term that so many like influencers would use. It'd be like, oh my God, bloating is just so normal, girlies. It's really not.
It's not.
It's really not.
But then secondly, like how do you manage digestion when food volume is sky high in off season? That moves into the bloating side of things, because a lot of people cause themselves bloating in off season because they eat like assholes.
Yeah.
So when I was in off season and food was as high as it was, yes, you sometimes have to find other ways to increase caloric values of meals, but at no point was I reaching for like fucking like shit food or like chips. It was like you eat, whether you're in prep or off season, you eat the same whole digestible foods, just more or less of them. And I managed digestion by eating food that I knew 100% agreed with me, even when the volume was high, but then you accompany your lifestyle alongside it. So if I'm eating a massive meal, you do your digestion walks, you stay on top of your cardio, you use your GDAs, you use your digestive enzymes. The human body really isn't designed to eat 6 times a day. It's not meant to eat 7,000 calories. So if you can take something to assist it while managing your lifestyle around it, you will improve yourself in that sense. That's how you manage digestion, by aiding it. You're not just leaving it to do its job and hoping it does its job. You aid it by doing your walks, taking your GDAs, that kind of thing. And you make sure you are eating food that your body can digest. You're not giving it Mars bars thinking, oh, it's an extra 250 calories, and then wondering why you feel sluggish in the gym.
Yeah.
It's like, even now that I was doing the last, few months of off season, and through my own choice, I haven't been eating off plan. I've just been on plan the entire time, and it's been probably the most progressive stint of the off season because there was really no risk involved. Every day was within control because it was food my body knows. Yes, we were doing the digestion diversity thing where I was rotating protein sources out, things like chicken for prawns, or like
we added in yogurt.
Yeah, so most bodybuilders are lactose intolerant, so I was having 200 grams of 0% fat Greek yogurt in the morning, covers a protein source, but also exposes my gut flora to that food source and then keeps it variable, and having fruit involved. So I was eating good food consistently the whole time, so at no point was I bloated and uncomfortable. It's not part of the process. If it is part of the process, you're doing the process wrong. And I managed my digestion by eating properly, being smart with meal timings, eating 2.5 hours apart, and managing my lifestyle around it to aid digestion.
Yeah.
Covered?
Very much so.
Okay, brilliant one for you.
Careful, you might clap and it might ruin the mic.
Brilliant one for you. Because I think this one was aimed at you anyway, given where you are. I can go into a few of it, more for me, but what supplements or habits have the biggest difference to your own gut health? And this is from someone that is very limited in terms of what you can and can't do.
Yeah, so I guess I could speak from someone who's like, what's the almost basis that you should use, and then what can you add if you're able to, right? So obviously the biggest changes for me was, even though I would have like my creatine in the morning, I made it like a kind of staple for me to have my creatine, glutamine, like with as soon as I wake up, basically.
Did the gut drink for a while?
I did have a gut drink for a while, but that's staying locked up secret because only my clients know what that gut drink is. But things like that really do help to aid digestion in the morning. Tell you what, I'll give you a little nugget. I started to add, at a period of time, 8 grams of aloe vera twice a day into that kind of remit. The other things that I want to speak about are probiotics.
Oh, we
right?
had a big conversation about this.
Because probiotics are what everyone screams about immediately. They'll be like, oh, you got gut problems, here's a probiotic. That's not how probiotics work, okay? So when people utilize probiotics, there's obviously lots of different probiotics, and when you utilize a singular probiotic for a prolonged period of time, you're only introducing that certain gut bacteria into your gut. So you're not diversifying your gut. So you're just increasing the one specific type, for example, within your gut, instead of introducing new good bacteria within your gut, which is usually people's problem. It's usually why people have issues, is because they have such a small kind of environment of the in the gut microbiome, like they don't have any diversity within it. So that is where you don't want to just reach for the probiotics immediately. You actually want to be looking at your diet. So purple vegetables have phytophenols in there, so like beetroots, blueberries, things like that, right?
Kombucha is a great one.
Oh, that's not purple.
Can be, but it's a good probiotic.
But then again, touching on another side of like adding in fermented foods, so like your kimchi, your sauerkraut. That being said, again, this has started to become a little bit more of a trend than for people utilizing it effectively. People are like, oh, I got my 700 grams of kimchi and sauerkraut because they're hungry and they're just trying to add more volume. That amount of fermented foods is actually probably going to take you the complete opposite way. You're probably going to be bunged up because there's a level of how much you're meant to be adding of all these, whether they are fermented foods, or say, for example, if I took what I think one day I had like 20 grams of the aloe vera in one serving, and I literally shit myself. So like, you know, there's always a level, there's always like a reason for a certain amount to be in place. So supplements, like I've just mentioned there, like the morning gut drink, glutamine, probiotics, yes, but they are not going to be the savior that you probably are told that they're going to be. A good GDA, especially as you do increase carbohydrates. So glucose disposal agent, in case people don't know. Actually, incredible news. Engineered just released a GDA that people like me can actually use, because I can't use, say, Strom's Glycomax, for example. So that is going to really change the game, that I'm very excited for. I'm going to actually do like more of an actual test on that when I am going to utilize it. At the end of the day, I'm 3 weeks out from my final show. I'm not going to try anything that's new, because why would you risk that? So I am going to wait until post-show, until, even though it could potentially be extremely beneficial right now, I'm not going to take that risk. Habits-wise, for gut health, well, we've spoken about stress. Stress management is probably key. Sleep is so high up there. Also exposing yourself to different environments. Now, like I mentioned about your gut microbiome, you don't just get a change in gut microbiome from what you're like eating. It is actually your environment. So if you're inside like all day, every day, again, you're going to have a very small diversity of that gut microbiome. So you do actually want to get out there in fields. You want to go out to different places. Like, I think a lot of people, especially since COVID, see bacteria and like exposing themselves to things as a negative, but it's necessary for your body to continue to almost build this immunity, basically. But again, that's diving into the immunity side of things. So with regards to just your gut health, whole foods, staying away from like high processed things. You know, I think a lot of people reach for the protein yogurts, for example, that are in Aldi, the protein brownies, the protein this. A lot of the time, it's probably a hell of a lot better for you to just have, say, 0% Greek yogurt and some chicken.
Which is also a probiotic.
Yeah. And then, of course, like I've spoken about diversity of your actual foods, or we've touched on that. But yeah, just making sure that your habits around your eating, you're not eating in a stressed environment as well. Like, you want to be actually quite relaxed within your eating environment, because your digestion actually begins from when that, not even when the food reaches your mouth, but when you can smell your food, you start to salivate. I literally started salivating because I'm thinking of food.
You can touch on me for this.
Well, yeah. Careful. We're recording. So yeah, how you digest your food, it actually starts from before the food is even near your mouth. It starts from when you smell it, when you look at it. So making your food pretty in off season is actually going to benefit you massively. And it's simply down to the fact that when something looks appetizing, you're going to start salivating, which is the digestion enzymes. So you need those to, obviously, when you chew, but when you swallow, that's going to break down the food. But the reason why Nat said, like, you can touch on this with me is because I've had to, without sounding like a demon person to live with.
No, it's in such the right way.
It's in a way that
it's a bad habit.
Yeah, so Nat eats so fast, so much so is I wish we had a clip to like input here, but he actually audibly goes because he eats so fast. We'll be sitting in the car. Bear in mind, my food is like 1/10 of Nat's food. He'll still finish first. And if you imagine eating in that stressed environment, although he doesn't maybe think there's any difference now, when I spoke to you about it and I said you might want to eat slower because, and I explained what I've just explained there about the digestive enzymes within your mouth and how that's going to actually allow you to break down your food and actually absorb your nutrients within your food better. You did start to say that, and I don't know if you have any thoughts on it, whether it's been beneficial.
It's massively beneficial. I mean, I've made habitual changes myself to do so. So I used to eat very quickly, just through growing up. I would always eat fast. But then my working life, I was doing shift work, bar work, security work. So it was always like eat on the move, eat between shifts.
I'd be like eating in
Tupperware
toilets.
on the bar, like running by, taking some mouthfuls, cracking on.
Yeah.
It's like I've got a bad habit of I like standing and eating my meal on the breakfast car because I've done it for fucking years.
Whereas I can never stand and eat.
But now, when I'm working, I used to eat while I work, and now when I've got a meal, I will put the laptop there, I'll put on some entertainment, I will sit and I will eat and chew.
Yeah.
And it has made a difference in terms of
You know
how
what,
food
though?
sits.
It actually has, because if I reflect now, sorry, but if I reflect on how much you would fart and shit, you would shit so much. Do you remember? My old flat couldn't handle it. He blocked my toilet every day. But isn't that true?
Yeah.
That's only just clicked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made it seems so minor, but it makes a big difference. So I think we've well and truly slammed that.
Yeah. Okay,
So we're on to your forte.
we had a few questions regarding posing, basically, didn't we? So
I'll pick the main ones that I'm interested in
Okay.
your take on. So the main one for me, which we've had conversations many times on, that opened my eyes, was how is posing different between natural versus assisted athletes?
Oh, yeah.
I'm starting in the middle because how you explain it is brilliant, and it's something that I didn't realise until obviously being as large as I am now and really working on my posing.
And I think you heard me in one of my calls that made you laugh, because I said to a lady, a natural lady, I was like, have you been posed by a assisted male? And she was like, yeah, how did you know? I was like, I can fucking tell. So there is actually a massive difference between when you pose as a natural or assisted male or female, because simply down to the amount of tissue that you do carry. Almost like, I guess how I could bracket is like what you can get away with, but also what you're trying to display. So if you take an assisted male, for example, when you think about a front relaxed shot, if anything, he needs to do a hell of a lot less. So again, perfect example is you were like trying to do so much. And when you're in your front relaxed, because you were trying to do so much from it, you were just looking smaller. Whereas in essence, all he needed to do was think about a slight flare and a lift through the chest and shoulders, and it looked so much denser and thicker. Whereas a natural athlete, if you think that they don't have as much tissue there to begin with, so if they just move their arms, for example, there's no tissue connected there. So there's a massive gap, right? So the connectivity with posing a natural athlete is actually really important. We can speak through maybe like a back double, for example. If you just take your arms out to the side and you're not actively thinking about what you're engaging through your back, you will just look like there's skin over bone if you're lean enough. Whereas if you're actually thinking about flaring through the lats, rotating through that rotator cuff, pulling the hand in to actually activate the bicep as well, with a small tuck with the elbow to almost imagine you're doing like a bit of a lat pull down there. Not only will you be flaring, but you'll also be looking a lot denser. You'll be connecting the balance between taking up space, but also contracting and making sure your muscles are on display, in essence. Whereas then, if we look at you with a back double, again, the biggest thing for you is making you actually take up more space, stretching a hell of a lot more, because you don't need to kind of pull in and make yourself a lot smaller.
Yeah, I like the example you gave with like lat spreads as well, because it's like, for a natural athlete, it's like you've got to do so much more cognitively with
I'm going to
posing,
demonstrate.
because it's like you've got to, like, you can't just pull it, you've got to do so much. Whereas like you said the example,
Sorry
like,
about the mic.
An assisted athlete can just move something and it will come with it. It's like when I set up my rear lat spread, I'm not really pulling my lats out. I'm rolling my fucking shoulders forward, and that just pulls my lats with it, and then I set them. So you can get away with more just by moving it.
If I did a rear lat spread, how you do it, I'd look like this. So it'd be like nothing. It'd just be like stretched, right? Whereas you have to think about the flare first, right? And then the hands are on. Yes, you can pull through and you want to, but if you pull through as a natural too much, you'll just end up going from there to there, and you're not actually connecting anymore. So yeah, there's a big difference.
Yeah, I'd never thought about it before until Hannah was
You might
posing
want to
me.
not say anything because this all rustled. Go.
Yeah, until you were posing me, and then you were posing other athletes, and then we had a conversation about it in terms of like assisted athletes can really just move things, and other things will come with them. So you almost have to think less, whereas a natural athlete almost have to think more because they're trying to make each individual part go and fire where it needs to.
But that's
really cool.
That's putting it in a very small
Very
sentence.
layman's
Like
terms.
yeah, we can discuss that.
But I just like that one because it's not something that I'd thought of before. This would be good for you to touch on, given it's recently. But I do think this is dramatically important. It's how early should athletes start posing practice in prep, and I think the sentence in itself is wrong because you don't start posing practice in prep. You start it all the fucking time.
Yeah,
like,
you start when you start bodybuilding.
Yeah,
realistically.
like how many of my clients are on the off-season package?
Yeah. But even when you think
I'm
about
on the off-season package.
yeah. But even when you think about when you have a client, even a lifestyle client, if that lifestyle client is standing there and is relaxed, facing the side, facing the back, you can't see shit. If that client is then able to maybe hit a power pose, maybe hit a little side relaxed, just actually flare their lats, for example, not only are you obviously going to be able to see how much tissue they have got in certain areas, that kind of opens your eyes to being able to change their programming potentially. You know, if someone can't lat flare and you're like, oh shit, you need more back, I'm going to give you lots of volume in your back. And reality is they just can't flare. Then they learn to flare and then they've got massive back. Then that's one side. The other side is composition. So if someone's posing, a lot of the time, like if I'm fully relaxed, my legs don't look peeled, do they? They just look, well, there's veins right now, but like they just look quite smooth, right? Especially my glutes and hams, because I have that lip under my ass of skin, right? Anyway, as soon as I pose, glute lines, quad feathers.
Hamstrings.
So, you know, you'll be able to see the level of conditioning for that client as well. So it might be that, oh, actually, we could continue this growth phase for a period of time. Or you see that, no, they're not in great condition, and it's like, right, we're going to stop pushing here and we're going to maintain a little bit to improve your body composition. And then the other side of it is, you know, again, even if you are a lifestyle client, posing drastically changes your mind to muscle connection, so your training entirely levels up. I've worked through so many issues with people regarding injuries and niggles that they've thought, I've had this years, it's never going to change. But by us working together through posing, yes, but also like the mobility side of things, the mobility membership that we've just started, that's why I've been so passionate about it. But also then looking at certain movements, giving them tricks and tips like video in your training sessions. I got you to do that today.
Yeah.
Right? So by you looking at poses, that can also highlight where you may have niggles, which in turn, if those niggles are not addressed, they could lead to injuries, long-term injuries as well. So in essence, don't just think you need to pose for being on the stage. There's so many important positives from it, including confidence. Some of your clients have gone from, you know, not being involved at all and now doing like team pose kind of photo shoots and things and still doing posing lessons, even though they're not necessarily going to step on stage. And not just your clients, like other people's clients as well. So yeah, start before you even start bodybuilding. But with regards to your posing for a prep, an off-season package should already be in place. And then when you do start prep, in essence, that means that you don't need to up the ante with regards to your lessons. That should be like the kind of plan there. You know, fortnightly, monthly lessons should most definitely be enough. But at the end of the day, if you've left it late, I'm not going to say too late, because I've done bits in weeks. But if you've left it late, you know, that's why there are the other options there. So there's even like weekly sessions, weekly check-ins and things like that. But it is just so person dependent, because some people, they could even have one lesson and pick up so much and they're able to go away.
That lady earlier.
Yeah.
She just picks shit up.
Yeah, and they can go away then and do that work themselves. Whereas other people, they may even pick things up quickly, but then they go away and they do the whole wrong thing. So they would need a lot more kind of contact and feedback to make sure that the stuff that they're practicing, it's not then creating bad habits. So it is very person dependent, but what you really have to take into consideration here is when you probably get to around 8 weeks out, should we say, you're probably gonna be fucked. Like, you're going to be so tired. Like, your brain might not work properly, as in to learn new things. So you actually don't want to put yourself in a position where you're trying to learn new things at that point.
Yeah.
Right? So you'll be tweaking things throughout your prep, because you'll be unleashing like new aspects to your physique if you've done an off season, right? That being said, so I've worked with some people for like 5 years, so I've seen them go through cuts and bulks, and like we'll talk through the fact that, so we know that you hold body fat here, so we don't need to necessarily worry about that when prep comes around, because you get fucking diced. You know, it's taking those things into consideration, and that's why actually working with a posing coach long term, as well as obviously your normal coach long term, can be vital, because they see you through all those different processes. So they can learn about how you learn about your body, and also like your personality too, like being able to add that flair in.
I have 2 tips as well. So, how early should athletes start posing, practicing prep? Well, during prep, rather than doing Stairmaster or steps, you could use specific cardio. It's something I do with my clients quite a lot. I will program posing rounds for output, because then it's sport-specific output. You practice what you're doing on stage. Because yes, your cardio may be great because you're slamming yourself on the bike every week, but that doesn't help when they've tried to do 6 comparison rounds and you're blowing out your arse around 3.
Oh, I love that you've said that.
Massively, you can utilise prosing as a form of output that's specific to what you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. The second aspect to that is moving out of prep and towards the kind of off-season aspect. I'm having to relearn how to do all of my poses due to the muscle I now have being new, in that I'm hitting poses that I hit a year ago, and they feel foreign because shit doesn't feel how it used to, because there's more there. So you don't just think I'm going to pose in prep, because if I posed in this prep and then I posed in 2022 prep,
you should kind of be posing differently as your physique develops. Like, they're not going to be the same poses that look the best for you.
Yeah, like, yes, there's going to be limiting factors to an extent. Like, when I'm peak off season, there's no way in hell I'm able to rotate the same way that I can when I'm leaner. Still doesn't mean you give it a good fucking go.
Yeah.
But the pose isn't going to sit the same, but you still need to do them so you can get used to the way the muscle feels in that pose and then refine it. So pose the entire time. Frequency can decrease to an extent, but it still has to be part of your plan. And then by the time prep comes around, you already have the skills nailed to pose. You can just ramp it up, use it as output, and then, like Anna says, when you're fucked, you're not having to learn new things because it's already drilled in.
Because the final thing, I'll say, the other aspect to think about that happens so often is people will be learning, obviously, maybe starting prep, and then they'll come and they'll say, oh, by the way, I'm doing maybe 5 federations. fine, right? That's absolutely fine if you've got the ability to learn all those differences. There are differences between federations. Doesn't matter if you're doing the same category. There's different maybe rules. There's different poses. Say, for example, UKDFBA bikini and PCA bikini. UKDFBA does not allow the same level of variability within your posing. So, you know, you may have to learn, well, you would have to learn your one hand on. How many girls come to me and they hate that one? So if you want to do X amount of federations as well, I had, just before we started doing this, I had a call with a lady who is 4 weeks into her off season, so just finished prep. And one of the things that we spoke about, I said, off the back of you finishing this prep, have you seen any federations that you wish that you had kind of done that maybe you're going to look into next season, because we can start having a little look at what those posing differences would be. Again, for example, so she was figure, she did UKDFBA figure, which is just your 4 mandatories, and an I walk, which is just your 4 mandatories. If she wants to do something like BNBF, you've got the option to do all these different poses. You've got a T walk and things like that. So there's so much to take into consideration there. So in essence, as soon as possible.
It's a big learning curve for me now that I've got quite a few female competitive clients, was you explaining to me how they all have to pose differently for different federations. Like, open bodybuilding is easy. You hit the same shots.
You hit a most muscular 20 times.
Yes, but it's like even seeing you go through your season, and when we're preparing for the following show, it's a different federation, you're putting up the rules, and I'm having to call out the poses, and I'm like, these are a different order to the ones we did last week.
It was like when you take my chicken photos, you're like, oh, we're doing those ones today. Okay.
Yeah, so it changes. So just pose all the time. I think we covered quite a lot.
I would say just go to the final one. Well, we'll go with the final question.
The final one?
Yeah, like the final segment.
Okay, cool. So these are some of the enhanced versus natural shit.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. Sorry, toilet break.
So it's, what's your stance on transparency within bodybuilding about enhancement? I'm quite passionate about this. I believe, first of all, if you are enhanced, you should, one, be honest about it. Don't go competing in natty feds if you're enhanced. But mainly, I think, like, with the way that social media is, with TikTok and everything that comes out, and how, like, this random compound that's been developed last week is now the flavour of the month and everyone's running it. Like, I believe that if you are of a position of experience, especially in a sport that is untested, where you do basically become a bit of a pharmacy, you almost have a duty to explain and educate on how to do things the right way, because you can do it in such the wrong way, and it's very fucking dangerous, really. And I'm very passionate about being open and honest about what I do with anyone I speak to. You can stop me in the gym and I'll talk about it, and I'll explain how to do things the right way, the wrong way. And it's so important with the amount of misinformation out there that people are transparent and open and honest about it, so we can all do this sport that is really quite risk intensive in potentially the most risk averse way possible, but also understanding the risks so you can gauge your own risk acceptance. Like the amount of people that come to me and they're saying, oh, I'm doing this, and I was like, well, have you thought about X, Y, and Z? And they're like, I didn't know that, and that's wrong. Whereas me, like, everything that I'm doing, I am fully aware of what it's taking from me, and it's a price that I'm willing to pay. And it's a conversation I've had with myself and a conversation I've had with you. But you need that base of education to understand where your risk line is. So you should be transparent, you should be honest, and you should educate, and that's a big part of what Team Muscle comes about, and it's what Elliot is massive about. Yes, it was originally a site designed to give people almost a cheat sheet for compounds, just so they could learn about it. But it has really derived for him in terms of learning risk and learning the right way in both the science and the boots on the ground kind of things with the athletes like myself. And then Hannah is on there as almost like a control and an outside eye, and I think it's huge that anyone that is enhanced and does it the right way, like I say, has a duty to explain to people.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really great like way to even talk about it, is using like Team Muscle Chem as the example, because so we touch on a certain topic every single week. So, for example, Elliot was like, okay, like this week is going to be testosterone, and it was really funny how our immediate routes were just so different, but that's what was so great. So your immediate route was testosterone when using like exogenous testosterone in bodybuilding, and my route was immediately why testosterone is so important naturally within the body, and what role that has, like again, within you to begin with, and then why you then might take the approach to utilize exogenous testosterone and how that can really benefit you even as a female. So I think, like you said, transparency is so important, and I think what is great to see, natural bodybuilding is obviously really taken off over the last maybe 2 years, maybe not even, maybe year. You know, there's more federations, there's more shows, more opportunities, more like finals. There's just a broader kind of audience with that. But unfortunately, what we are seeing is then people thinking that they can take advantage of like the testing system, or because at the end of the day, if something doesn't come up in your blood work, like you've got away with it. But it just doesn't make sense. Like, what are you gaining from that? What are you gaining from winning a natural show as an assisted athlete? Like, you should be embarrassed. Like, that's nothing to be proud of, is it? So I personally don't understand that to begin with, but we are seeing it more and more often, and it's just so people can put in their bio like, overall winner of so-and-so, and then 2 weeks later it's like their test comes back. But that's why I think every natural federation should do a polygraph. I think that you can't, I mean, yes, you can still kind of get away with a polygraph, but I don't see how. I think that the polygraph is probably the closest thing to actually getting the truth out of like athletes. Obviously, there's grey area within some federations because NPC, for example, you only have to be 3 years natural. We all know the long-term effects that utilising any kind of compound has, in a great way, don't get me wrong. But 3 years just doesn't even seem to cut anything for me. But maybe that's down to the fact that for me, a bodybuilding career, like, again, I've already been in it 6 years. So 3 years is just nothing. Whereas I think a lot of the time nowadays anyway, people are actually only staying within bodybuilding for maybe like 2 years. And the thing is that you need to then think about with that side, like so many people's bodybuilding careers have such a short half-life because of the fact that they don't actually love the lifestyle. They just kind of see it as a trend. If you start using assistance for that 2-year stint, again, what was the point?
Yep. It's like when I say that, okay, I've been taking exogenous hormones for X amount of years, I'm going to have to take some form of hormone for the rest of my fucking life to keep things in line.
Yeah.
If someone decided to jump on gear and do their first prep and then found out, oh bollocks, I've wrecked myself.
Oh, like I didn't even enjoy being on stage. Like, I am, obviously everyone, it's their own decision, it's their own body, but I do believe everyone should do their first prep naturally, just so they can see what they can actually do, how they can push themselves, and also like feel that level of fucked. Because then, you know, I've got quite a few friends that have done preps naturally and now gone assisted, and they've done it in such a good way. Like, if I was to ever be assisted, like it would be the same route, because in essence, a good bodybuilder, it doesn't matter if you're natural or assisted, you actually live the exact same life if you're a good bodybuilder. And because they have been like that, they've turned around and said to me, and I don't know if you do agree or not, they were literally like, being assisted is fucking easy. Like, they've done a natural prep and got down to like as lean as possible, and then they've done an assisted prep, exact same life, it was 2 years difference, and their assisted prep was a fucking breeze.
I agree and disagree. The disagreement comes from how far you are from your natural set point. It depends on where how far you are from your natural set point.
Yeah.
The further you are from being what a normal person would be, the more.
Oh, my assisted prep would be so fun.
I don't want to see you on the Clen. You'd be bouncing off the fucking walls.
No, I'd never took the Clen. I don't need a fat loss tool. No. I don't need a fat loss tool. I know Clen isn't just for fat loss, before anyone comes at me.
You need Superdrol for rancid
No,
fullness.
but if you think about it, I am so far away from like the normal range of things that I would look so different by just simply being on a level playing field in terms of my hormonal range, even a level playing field with other natural athletes, because I'm not, let's be honest, like it's fact. You can see it in the blood work.
Yeah, I mean, that rounds up nicely to the other one. I think we'll finish on that because you've kind of touched on it. So transparency within bodybuilding enhancement, just fucking be honest. And if you know what you're talking about, educate. And then leading on from what Hannah was speaking about with naturals versus assisted, the bit that I want to cover here, it says someone was asking, like, what can natural athletes learn from enhanced ones? Or the other way around. Yeah. And it is the other fucking way around for me, because a natural has to do bodybuilding without any extra shit. They've got to do it the fucking spit and sawdust, hardcore way and do it right. And I think a lot of assisted bodybuilders can learn a lot from them, because a lot of them treat assistance like reliance. When it's assistance, it's Hannah's sentence, I've got to give her credit for that, it's brilliant. They will rely on the anabolics rather than using them as assistance, and they'll try and out-drug a bad diet, a bad lifestyle and a bad training regime.
Yeah.
That only goes so far, but I think at the amateur level you can get away with it.
Yeah, definitely.
So what can enhanced people learn from naturals is they can learn how to be good bodybuilders before being good enhanced bodybuilders.
Yeah, and I think sometimes what like maybe natural athletes can learn from enhanced ones is almost like, don't be scared to redline. Yeah,
remove the fucking ceiling. Oh my God, the amount of naturals like, I can only gain this much in a year.
Yeah,
I can only get this strong. Fuck no.
I hate when people speak about natural limit. It's one of my bugbears.
I trained with a natural lad called Alex 2-3 years ago, and he was natural. He was a junior, I was enhanced. We were on the same training split, the same training volume, and he would attack his sets with the same intensity as me. And I've never seen a natural lad get so fucking strong so fucking quickly, because he didn't care there was a difference between me and him. He went, whatever he's fucking done, I'm going to try and do the same.
Yeah.
And it resulted in a shit ton of muscle and a shit ton of progress, because he took the ceiling that a lot of people put on themselves and blew the cunt off.
Yeah, obviously, yes, we do. Like, I've been coached by Cooper for 6 years. I'm not gonna say that recovery is not important. Like, recovery and sleep are definitely probably the reason why I've been able to hold on to so much tissue this time round. But that being said, we do see so much nowadays where it is within the natural industry where people are being so wet. Like within their training, within like just their approach to things. It's almost like, I can't do that because I'm not going to be able to recover. You don't know unless you try. You don't know unless you are pushing that red line. Once you've found that red line, then you pull back. But don't like tiptoe pretending to find the red line. You need to find it and like really ruin yourself first to then be able to.
It's what I say to you all the time about the red line is like, you find it and you stay on it as long as possible. I can be fucked every day, and most of the time I am in some capacity, but if the bar is still moving and kilograms are still going up, I'm not over the red line yet. When that stops, it is. And I think that, like you say, there are naturals out there that do it, and funnily enough, they're some of the best, i.e. Keithy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think he set a ceiling on himself when he pulled 350 from the floor?
Yeah.
No.
And then you see that in the progress, because yes, natural bodybuilding, you're in the journey for a lot longer, let's be honest. Like, you realistically, like 10 years for a natural bodybuilder is pretty standard, but you're seeing people step on stage maybe 6 years ago or something like that, and yes, weight gain isn't like the most important aspect, but it's a bit of data for you, but are you looking the same as well? And a lot of the time, like, these natural athletes are pretending they're living the day every single day, and it's their life, it's their love, it's their passion. So why do you look the same, bro? Why do you look the same?
Because they ain't riding the red line.
Because they're not riding the red line. You know, I didn't put on 8 kilos of tissue.
Yeah, I think that's a nice way to round it up, because you can learn a lot from both aspects.
Yeah.
Enhanced bodybuilders can learn how to be bodybuilders from natural athletes, and natural athletes can learn how to fucking remove the ceiling from enhanced athletes.
Yeah.
I don't know how fucking
That's
long that
long.
was.
That is probably so long. Right. If you did get to the end of this, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.
I really enjoyed that one.
I really liked that one. That was good.
Yeah.
Well done.
Shake my hand.
No, but thank you guys for watching. Yeah, we've got quite a few really exciting ones coming up. We're discussing taking risks. We're taking you along to America. We'll be taking you into the Benwida show, but also, of course, the adventures that we have in America for the week to follow. That includes food, that includes gym tours, all of it.
If you've made it this far, or if you've finished your cardio and you're watching this on the way home from the gym, thank you very much. We are really enjoying doing this.
Yeah.
And I know that Hannah's last video is probably the most viewed of all of ours. And it's pretty humbling when you see like numbers in the region of 100, because I know it's like, it seems very small to some people.
It was actually, was uploaded 3 days ago. It's like 240 or something.
It's like, if you imagine 240 people in a room,
yeah,
that's a lot of people that decided to watch us that do our thing.
Yeah.
And we do this as a bit of fun, really, because it's like, yeah, we love bodybuilding, we've got pretty hectic lives and we enjoy it, and we're trying to put it out there, and it's just, so yeah, thank you. 281, that's pretty cool.
4 comments.
So yeah,
I'm going to reply to all those now.
Yeah, thank you very much.
See you in the next one.
Yeah.